Yeah, that's okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. So, one of those affected with the NMC unique CBT case, which it all started in 2023, and NMC contacted each and everyone affected in this particular saga. When all this started, they put everybody in a point of confusion because no one knows the direction the whole case is going to take and how long it's going to take. And as a result of that, people were actually left in limbo. So some were lucky to be able to actually maintain their job, others were not so lucky. People were sacked, some were even sent back to Nigeria as a result of this case. Uh, so we were all hoping they could resolve it faster, hopefully in that 2023. But unfortunately, that was not the case. The NMC promised they want to do an investigation, which took them to end of 2023 for everybody. Yeah, because we are among those applying to the register at the time. We we actually left to wait until around November, December before the assistant registrar contacted us to put in the mitigating reasoning for the reason why we were able to finish exam faster. Because the genesis of this whole case was the allegation that people finish exam faster. And then because of that reason that they alleged without any facts or evidence, they suspected that because of that reason, people could have finished using fraud. Part of the allegation was that, oh, there was someone who sat for people to have finished that faster, and they refer to that someone as a proxy tester, even though they fail also to provide any evidence to substantiate that as well. If the proxy is a man or a woman, or the picture or the name or anything regarding that person, not even the qualification the person has or anything that could identify the person. So just for that reason, people were struck off of the register, people were refused to join the register. And thereafter, they gave option that, oh, if you're applying to join the register, you have the option to cancel your application, or if you want to proceed, you need to go through an assistant registrar who is going to review your application and see if there's any mitigating reason for you to have finished earlier. So for me, I prefer to go through the second option, which is to go through the AR, because they've already mentioned that even if you register and you can't provide enough reasoning on why you finish earlier, they will still need to refuse your application, and then you still start over by going through the assistant registrar. So there was really no point for me to actually go through the re-registration or reapplication again. Obviously, for everybody that went through the AR, everybody was refused, unless maybe those who are admitted to have used fraud. I'm not sure I know any one of them, but I've heard that some people admitted that they used fraud, and because of that reason, the AR pardoned them, and then they gave them their PIN. They don't even go through the panel process. So after going through the staff registrar, the application was refused, and then they gave me the option to appeal that assistant registrar decision or to still go through the fresh application. So again, I refused to go through the fresh application. I still went ahead to appeal the assistant registrar decision. So at that time, I was hoping that, oh, maybe if I use a lawyer, oh, the lawyer will be able to know what to put down, what to appeal with, and hopefully the AR would consider that. So I used a lawyer and to put in the appeal for me for the AR decision. Again, that was refused, and it said the decision, the reasons the lawyer gave was not what they were expecting. To them, I think what they were expecting was that people need to admit fraud. And then if people admitted that they use fraud, they will ask them to write what they call a reflection. And that reflection will be what will determine if they will be added. So I said, no, I would not admit to what I did not do. So let me just go through the legal process. So the lawyer submitted the appeal, but it was refused again. And they now said the option left now is to probably face the registration appeal panel. And the panel will be the one to decide now if I've provided enough reason for me to be admitted or not. So I said, okay, no problem. And I used my union to actually do that because the union was only helpful or supportive at that point only for the panel. So I used the union I belong at the time to actually fight the case. And through them, I was able to get a date in earlier this year. So when I got a date this year, uh, we went for the panel in London. And then this was about 3 days hearing at the time. And I was refused the application. The panel actually upheld the assistant registrar decision, and that means my application was refused and they dismissed my appeal. So again, the appeal panel also gave two options. One is to go to the court to appeal that, and the second option is to go to a fresh reapplication again. So I still feel that there's no point to go to reapplication because it will still come back to the same process. I said, no, let me just take this to court. So when I was refused, at that point, I contacted the Save the Woman to see if there's any ground of appeal, or if there's any hope to appeal in court, and there's any support in place that could be useful. So when I reached out to him, yeah, he gave me some assurance that, okay, that of course there is grounds of appeal and there's hope and there's something to hold on to. I said, okay, so if there's hope and there's grounds of appeal, then yes, I'm willing to fight this in court and go ahead as I've already planned. So with that hope, I begin to go through my refusal letter that the panel made. I see a lot of inconsistency in that letter based on the bundle that they gave out to us. And I was able to go through that evidence bundle that was relied on by the panel and by the NMC. They have a lot of inconsistencies. And what I mean by inconsistencies, that time that they refused me, they said I've not provided enough reason for finishing early. But what they failed to determine at the time was that they couldn't provide any evidence like CCTV or biometrics or any good reasons that, oh, you were not the one that sat this exam, that passed this exam yourself. Again, I resat the exam in the UK and I scored a very similar score compared to the one I scored in Nigeria. And even with that reason, I was still refused that's no enough reason. So in the evidence bundle, I realized that, oh, there was a place they said that the person who coordinated the exam, they've never even visited the center. And I know, and others have also mentioned that no, this center has CCTV, but both the NMC and Pearson V, they concluded that there was no any CCTV in that center, even if they've not visited the center. Again, the Pearson V mentioned in the evidence bundle that there has never been any instances of power outage in that center. Anyone who's familiar with uni will know that no, that is not like a five-star center that they have a standby generator that they would have actually been able to achieve 100% of no power outage. So obviously I knew that was a lie and I challenged that in my grounds of appeal as well, that no, this is not true, that Nigeria doesn't have constant electricity supply. And for Pearson V to have concluded that in the evidence bond that there has never been an instance of power outage, then that is a lie. Although I let them realize that this is not applicable to me during my exam, there was no any power outage. But this evidence provided that there was no CCTV camera, that is not true. They also said that there was no power outage. Again, that is not true. And I've seen some people, part of those who even confessed the evidence bundle, that during the day of their exam, they had power outage. And you know what? The NMC believed them and they admitted them into the register. I said, okay, so let's go to court. I approached few lawyers. I sent them code mail to see that, okay, what will be the quote to challenge this case, to take the NMC to court, and do they have any experience of representing anyone in court against the NMC? Got their quote for the fee they would charge and all of those stuff as well. So they responded, and I was able to pick one out of them. Obviously, it's very, very expensive, and they gave me quotes ranging from 6,000 to some even gave me 15,000 pounds as quotes, which was very expensive. The union I used to fight the NMC in the panel, they told me there was no grounds of appeal, and because of that, they won't support me going to court, and they would advise me to just reapply. I said, okay, thank you for your service, and I just ignored them with that one. So based on the advice that the safety woman gave, I said, okay, let me try the lawyer, and I sent money to them, which was the deposit to challenge the case in court. So all these processes, it takes time, it takes money, and NMC will only give person like 21 days to appeal this in court. So lo and behold, I was able to submit this on the last day, which was the deadline for that appeal. So my lawyer was able to submit that in court, and they got the confirmation that that has been lodged, and they told me that within 2 or 3 days, the NMC would also get the memo as well. Okay, so we waited, and about a week time, the NMC responded that okay, they will be challenging the case, and they will get back to my lawyer. So my lawyer told me that okay, that the NMC has agreed to challenge the case, and because of that, they will set a date for preliminary hearing. Oh, before that, I even forgot that all the lawyers I've contacted, all the solicitors I've contacted, none of them actually gave me assurance. They were all pessimistic that NMC is usually uh they have the upper hand of winning courts. That most times the courts prefer to rule in their favor. And because of that, they all of them actually said they won't advise me to challenge that in court. That because it will cost me lots of money. That it could cost me up to 15K, and then I will need to pay an NMC legal fee as well, which could be over 20,000 in total. I said there's no problem, that I should just go ahead as I've made up my mind to appeal. And to be honest, part of the reason that gave me confidence was that earlier I think it was last year, earlier this year, yeah, earlier this year, I read on Save the Woman page that he took the NMC to court and he won a case against them. So that gave me morale that, oh, someone won against the NMC in court. And if someone could win against them, and it's still the same case because it's still a unique case that this person won the NMC on. So there's nothing different with my own case as well. So I'm willing to take that chance. That's okay. So I told the lawyer to go ahead with the appeal. So he went ahead with the appeal and submitted the grounds of appeal to the court. So the court set a preliminary date, which was a virtual hearing that they've proposed. And to my surprise, just like a week or 2 weeks to the preliminary hearing, I got a message from my lawyer that, oh, good news, that the NMC has considered. And because of that, they considered on two grounds of appeal. So part of that was that they didn't provide the witnesses during my panel hearing. So that was part of the grounds of appeal. So the NMC considered that that was a procedural irregularity, and that's the grounds of appeal one they considered on. Then they considered on grounds of appeal two as well, and that was the fact that the conclusion the panel made was irrational. So irrational conclusion was also part of the grounds of appeal, which they also considered too. So that makes it two grounds of appeal considered too by the NMC. So my lawyer asked me that if I'm happy to take that, and because they've considered they will also be refunding some of my legal expenses, although it may not cover the whole fee I've paid, but he said he expected that it to cover the most part of it. He also apologized that he's really sorry that he was really pessimistic from the outset, not really knowing that we actually have a good grounds of appeal against the NMC. So I said that there is no problem. He should agree to that. And he should also agree that they need to give me my PIN without going for a rehearing. So he said he's going to send that to the NMC lawyer, which he did. He sent that to the NMC lawyer. And the NMC lawyer said, no, that's the best they could do is that they cannot give PIN unless it is a rehearing before a different panel. And if that option is not okay, then we may need to just to go to court fully. So when he sent that back to me, I said, okay, there's no problem. That he should just agree to that, and they should give me a rehearing as soon as possible. So he contacted them, and the NMC were able to reimburse me about £6,000, I think. But that money did not cover the whole fee I've paid the lawyer, but at least it's covered about 75% of my cost. So I said, well, that's still reasonable. And then I said, okay, that's fine. So the lawyer said, okay, service has ended at that point. And if I need to use them for the re-airing, I'll need to make a fresh payment. I said, okay, that's fine, no problem. So I reached out back to my union because I believe they should be able to support me in the re-hearing instead of paying another money to the lawyer. So the union said, okay, they will make an exception and they're going to support me for the re-hearing. And then they wrote to the NMC. No, I wrote to the NMC myself that I needed a re-hearing date. And I told them I needed it as soon as possible. So they said, okay, there's no problem. And they agreed to give me the month I requested the hearing for, which was September this year. So they gave me the dates. Initially, the union said they don't have any lawyer to represent me. So I need to extend that to suit their schedule. So eventually, the union were able to follow me for the hearing. And this time around, it was virtual hearing, also 3 days. So during the virtual hearing, because then it's already considered to one of the grounds of appeal that, oh, because they couldn't provide those witnesses that they use in making decision. So they brought all their witnesses this time around, even though they've never brought them before. And because of that, they were able to still question all those witnesses. My lawyer was able to question them, and so that was actually a very tough one. But after the whole hearing was done on the third day, the same reason I gave before, which the previous panel refused as not sufficient enough, the new panel actually accepted that as a very reasonable reason for finishing exam early. Because one, I never agreed that that time they gave me was actually my time, because I don't know the reliability they have on that particular data they are using on. Second, I never agreed that the time alone is enough reason to make a decision on someone's career or to ruin someone's career like that. So those same reasons were presented to the new panel, and they all agreed that no, that is actually a very good reason. And then eventually they uphold my appeal and allow my appeal to proceed, so to join the register. So that was actually emailed to me even before just during the meeting of the final decision. And that was it. Just 2 days after, I believe, I was added to the NMC register. So that was it. So my advice would just be that people should never give up and they should trust their instincts, because even though I was actually discouraged by all the solicitors and lawyers that went to meet. I never gave up. So please do not give up in the process and trust your instincts. Another thing is, whatever you've said before, never change your word. Just stick to that because the panel expects you to be consistent with whatever you are saying. And if you keep changing word, I mean, they'll keep doubting that, oh, you said this the other time, you said it the other time, and they'll feel that, oh, definitely you are not someone that is honest. And what they really need to do know is that you are someone that is honest and reliable, so they can rely on whatever you say. Because I remember the NMC lawyer keep twisting a particular question, and he asked that question differently about 5 different times, and the response was still the same. One of the panel members also asked that question in different formats, which also remained the same. So whatever you say, you need to know it and you need to stick by that. So that's everything for now.
Thank you very much for that testimony. It's really, really, really helpful. It's really, really.
Uh, yeah.
Just in summary, in 1 minute, during that time, how did you feel? What do you think you've lost? What can you say about the process of NMC?
To be honest, that process is not what one will wish on even one's enemy because it's very, very traumatizing in the sense that, yes, I was lucky to keep my job, but the the way you go to a job or you go to work daily and then you go to work with sadness, you go to work depressed, you go to work unhappy. So it's really, really traumatizing. And what I mean by that is that you don't know what the future holds because you couldn't get hearing date early. Your employer, they are actually disturbing that, oh, we need you to provide your PIN. We didn't recruit you to be a support worker. We recruited you to be a nurse. And because of that, we need your PIN. At a point in time, the employer told him that if you don't provide your PIN at this certain age, at a certain time, then your visa will be revoked. And that was very, very sad at the time. But I just kept on pushing on that, okay, if you revoke it, no problem. I just keep trusting in God and I keep praying that before they revoke that, let me just be able to resolve this. And I was able to have support from family and friends as well because they supported me. Most times I go to work crying. And when I come back or maybe thinking of going to work the next day, I'm also crying that, oh, what should I face tomorrow? Because sometimes or most times you see people that you even trained that when we first came were like the time was pre-registered nursing at the time. And because I pre-registered nursing, sometimes you have some student nursing that will come under you to take training and all of those things. So there were some people that are trained at the time, and they eventually got their PIN while this case was on. And you know how it feels to work under someone that you trained, that keeps sending you here and there, that you go and do this, go and do that. That kind of feeling is very, very bad. So I don't even have a word to put that in, but it was very sad moments of anyone. So
This is a last longing consequence and impact. Anyway, we thank God for this good news because at Save the Woman, we put compassion and empathy at our forefront of our service, our foundation. And it's all about showing up for people, standing beside and lifting others towards that dignity and hope they deserve. And most of the lawyers, solicitors, they turn a blind eye because they believe NMC is one of the powerful organizations that they've got resources, which is quite right. It's true. If you know number of lawyers NMC is having at the moment, you will be wondering whether the nurses, the midwife, they are criminals. That is why an organization like that will have so many lawyers like that to fight the same registrants. Because there's this a recent case in court, the judge asked every one of us to come in person and they were begging the judge, they were begging the court that they are charity organization and they don't have too much money that they can waste, so they want a virtual court hearing. And the judge said no, they need to come to the court. And many of these people, lawyers are saying there's no ground of appeal, but we thank God we set a pace, we take a lead, and majority of them are now saying there's a sense in those ground of appeal. And the union, initially, when this case started in 2024, the first person we supported that we took the case to court, they told the person they could not support this case because incidents happen in Nigeria at Unique Center. So being a registered member in this country does not cover you or cover them to support you on that case. That was how the person went on her own and they removed her from register. She already got her PIN. They removed her from register, and which was so sad. And she lost her job. That's what made her to come to save the woman. And got so good, we helped her to go to court. NMC considered, and we got her PIN back. And she's living good now. She's living fine. And this is another same person now. The union started supporting people, but they have a limit of what they can support. They can only go to the appeal hearing. After this, they will tell you going to court might not be an option. But we thank God we were able to do that, and they were seeing hope in it. It's a good news. That same union now, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, they made a decision that there might be ground of appeal, and they are going to court now. And with so much belief, because they have access to this information now, they have access to this ground of appeal now, and they will be able to build and use their expertise. And hopefully, NMC know it is getting tougher now. So those of you out there, please don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Be courageous. Seek support. Look for support. Look for a shoulder to lean on. And we hope God will see every one of us through. Once again, our guest for today, thank you so much for coming around to share this experience. And we hope the judges will also listen to all these things as part of supporting statements in the upcoming cases. And probably, hopefully, people will get